We could do.
All right, so we are recording.
We are
Jay
live.
Gordy, what is it? So what were you telling me about Jay Gordy?
Yeah, before we hit the old record button. No, we were rapping about crazy careers as personal trainers and just getting to know so many people over the years, the people you come across and crazy client stories. Uh, as many, you know, drinking short story exchanging times as we've had, I'm surprised I hadn't told you the story of my client that killed her husband.
Dude, no shit. You gotta tell me this shit.
I mean, it's a great story is why I'm smiling because I it's almost unbelievable. And it was actually you and I were working at the gym together in Tempe, Arizona at the same time. I don't know if we're gonna name drop the gym or anything, but
Oh no, let's not name drop that, Jim.
yeah, that place. But we're both
They
working
don't
there.
deserve the
The plug.
advertising. Yeah.
That's right. I can't believe I called it a gym. The damn I don't know what the hell you call it. The tyrants, but yeah, the we were working for the dictator for sure. But
Exactly.
but anyway, so I was training this client. I won't use her real name, but I'm pretty sure she's still in jail. I haven't looked it up or anything. But so
So this didn't happen before you were training her. She got like this happened after. Like
yeah,
she did
no,
this and then she got put in jail.
I mean I like to think I as a client I get my clients so fit, but fit for what? Fit for murder? I always hope not. But
Okay, what happened, dude?
okay, so she was a crazy Polish lady anyway, like intense Polish lady. Uh,
Okay.
her
Like straight
workouts,
out of Poland, like from
yeah,
Poland?
from Poland, first
Yeah, the
generation.
accent and everything, all right?
Oh yes, Jason, I love you. You're like
Yeah.
my son. I, she called me her second son. Didn't have the best relationship with her biological son, so she called me her second son. I helped her lose 30 pounds. She came to me and just like determined, just kind of as people do for weight loss. But this lady was a
Yeah.
savage. Like she had those crazy oppressed roots of just like hardworking, cold weather enduring, probably first generation after the Holocaust, after the Nazi invaded Poland. She was born there and grew up in that time. Anyway, uh, work ethic of a mule, sweetest lady though. Like always very sweet to me, and like I trained her for about 6 months, and she kind of tapered off on her own. Didn't have a lot of money and whatnot, but she would like
Yeah.
take me out to lunch every now and then. She'd, you know, and, call me. How are you doing? How's life? Hey, let's go to lunch. I'll pay. And, go to like the Olive Garden, grab lunch, talk, and sweet lady. So I was like, cool. One day she calls me over, uh, and she's like, Jason, will you come over and have like a cup of tea? Or hang out. I was on my way out of town from Phoenix to Tucson for the weekend, and she was in what's Awatuki,
Yeah.
all white Tukey they call it, but uh, on the way out. So she's like, stop by my house. I really need someone to talk to, and I just figured, something. We just talk about life, whatever. I figured she just had something on her mind. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come see you. I'm on my way out of town anyway. I come over to her house and she's like, she's a wreck. She's crying. She's disturbed. And she said she saw her husband like get in the car with another woman. She'd suspected him of cheating,
Yeah.
get in the car with another woman that day. And she followed him to like work, saw him like kiss her and stuff. And so she came home and I was the person she chose to talk to. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I just talked to her and listened. I was at the time I was 21. Yeah, like 21 years old. What
Yeah.
do I know about life and
Yeah, I
relationships?
remember.
So yeah. So anyway, I left. I was probably at her house an hour, maybe. She made tea, sat down and talked. I thought I kind of talked her down into a calm state. She seemed good. Like after I left,
Yeah.
and I left her house at like 5:30, I want to say, and didn't hear from her all weekend, whatever. And then I come back to work Monday morning. I went out of town to Tucson, came back to Phoenix. I'm back at work Monday morning around 10 a.m. I don't know if you remember Mario who trained there, but
Yeah, I remember Mario.
he goes, "Yo, JG." He points to the monitor, Fox News. He's like, "Yo, isn't that your client so and so?" He's like, and it's her mugshot, like disheveled looking mugshot on Fox News, dude. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I had to train a client. So I trained my client, and I'm just like looking at it, and uh, I only caught that glimpse of it, so I didn't see what the headline was. So we Googled her on the on the Lifetime on the work computer, and the search result was her name. Kills husband, shoots him 6 times in the chest.
Jesus.
At 6:30 p.m. I left at 5:30. My truck was parked in front of her house
Holy
at 5:30 when I
So
left.
damn, dude, that was like an hour after you left?
An hour later, he comes home. She caps him.
Damn.
Just unloads, gets in the car. They found her the next day, I think, the next morning, passed out, bottle of pain pills or whatever, at the car, like asleep at the wheel, pulled over somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think it was like Graham County or something like that. So she drove a few hours. But apparently, he was having an affair, and he came home, and she just, that rage, man. But
Holy
an
shit.
hour after I left. So, like, I was just like waiting for a phone call. I'm like, I mean, I'm obviously like, she texted me. So I'm like, probably one of her last text messages, wondering if, like, people saw my truck there or whatever. Like, if I was going to get questioned, nothing, no questions. I mean, I'm sure there was nothing really to investigate at that point that I could do.
They're like, it's kind of obvious.
It's kind of a,
That's crazy,
open,
man.
closed case. But, yeah, that was my client that murdered her husband. And
holy shit.
yeah, so
I used to work with a guy. That's nuts, man. It's funny because there's the only thing I could think of, like in terms of like people that had like kind of a shady thing going on, is I was at my internship, and I was at my internship at that sports training and conditioning place, and one guy was the ex trainer for the Suns. The other guy was the ex trainer for Arizona State. They both been there for a long time, and they were kind of running their own businesses, And this one guy, a lot of the people that would come there kind of just wanted to hang out where the athletes and celebrities and stuff like that trained.
sure.
And so there's this one guy, his name was Ed. And Ed was, I think he was Hawaiian. Yeah, I think it was Hawaiian, at least lineage-wise. I mean, but he was this guy, and all you knew about Ed, you didn't really know what he did. You just knew he made a lot of money, and that he was in finance of some kind.
Yeah.
Okay. So no worries, trained Ed there, and then you already mentioned it. So at Lifetime, so I was years later, jump forward, and I'm training there at the same time you were. And, he comes in and he's like, "Hey, Jason," he's like, "I'll give you like $5,000 if you can get me and my 2 buddies to, lose a certain amount of weight," or something like that. Thing is, he was an athletic guy. He'd already, when I trained him at the other place, he was training for a full Ironman. He just didn't lose a lot of weight because he didn't eat well. I'm like, well, first of all, I always kind of picture this guy as a little bit full of shit. So I just figured he was a little bit full of shit. But I mean, this was back in what? Early 2000s. So like not everything was not like this was like 2005, 2006. And so not everything was up on the internet yet or anything like that. And so I just knew he was a little bit full of shit, but I didn't really know like much about what he did. So I started asking him while I was training him and his 2 buddies, like what he did. He's like, he's like, a mentor of mine told us how to make a lot of money. That's all we do. I'm like, what, the stock market? He's like, financial stuff. You want to be, whatever. So, all right. So, anyways, ended up not training him for a long time. Then a few years later, after I moved to Chicago, I was reading up on him. And turns out I figured out the way Ed made his money. And apparently Ed was running a Ponzi scheme.
Yes. On the next episode of American Greed. Imagine just state his voice.
Ed, Jason's client. I won't tell his full name, but yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ, Ed from Arizona is running a Ponzi scheme. And that's how he had all that cash. That's how he's making his money. Because he told me, like, it was funny because he told me about, like, he was like, yeah, I was a nurse. And I was like, okay, you're a nurse. He was an LVN, licensed vocational nurse, and he was the nurse for this guy, and this guy taught him how to make a lot of money, with investments. Well, I guess what he taught him was how to run a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. Well, the perfect time for one of those to come along too, like 2006, 2007, right before the big economic crash. I mean, that's when Madoff went out, right? Area. Wasn't that about when Madoff went out, or was that a couple years later?
I don't know if Ed got caught first or if he got caught after that. I don't remember. I just remember seeing the article from the Arizona Republic, and I was just like, what the fuck? This is where Jason Gordy makes an inappropriate comment.
Right. Like on Major League, he's like, the hell with it, no one's listening anyway. He's like, you can't say goddamn on the
Bob Uecker.
Yeah, the hell with it, no one's listening. Yeah, Bob Uecker.
I don't think anybody's listening anyways.
The best sports voice, and probably one of the absolute best sports movies of all time.
I think sports movies wise, I got to say, Major League is up there. What else? Yeah, I honestly, my favorite football movie is The Replacements.
Good movie.
And by the way, the Keanu Reeves syndrome is real. Like, Keanu Reeves saved the day in every movie. He saved the football team. He saved the cheerleader.
He's a savior, man. Apparently, he's a really nice guy too.
See, he's all the way the savior.
A normal guy, they say.
That's what they say. Well, he's so nice. He's Canadian,
Gotta be it, right?
Yeah, gotta be.
Yeah, it's rare they find American celebrities are like, he's a really nice guy, and the ones they do, it turns out he ends up, being a shady character in the background. I'll just leave it there so you don't have more to edit out later.
Oh, thank you.
Cosby.
Like I said, we'll save that for the more explicit podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I didn't mean to derail the conversation, but
no worries. So.
Go ahead. There was an earthquake in Boise today, by the way.
Yeah, I heard about that. I was called on it.
Yeah.
Well, 6.5, 6.3, something like that.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know. They say it was a 6.5.
Yellowstone's going to blow up, and it's going to take out the western half of the U.S., man.
That was my first thought. I was like, please don't be Yellowstone. I know this, like, everyone's just weirded out and paranoid by this coronavirus thing, but I was just thinking, like, please don't be like Yellowstone on top of this. Turn into like a true apocalypse. It's like if you stay in your house, you're screwed from Yellowstone. Not that there's anywhere to go anyway. I mean, but Yellowstone would not be a good thing. That from this distance, for you and I, it'd be a slow, not fun death. I assume.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, who knows something of that magnitude? I'm gotta get my my old client David on here, the physicist who works on the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
Seismology and whatnot.
Yeah.
Physicist, but no, it was about 30 seconds long. The building was rattling. I thought someone was taking a sledgehammer, but too fast to be a sledgehammer, or it actually sounded like a large animal just popping up and down in the upstairs. I was downstairs with Luke, and I just grabbed him. I was like, I was waiting to see like
almost like your mom came for a visit. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I was so things I've been thinking about, or so one thing that I put a blog up about this week was sugar, and I'm just on it with sugar. I mean, I think it's one thing that I find to be such a struggle, and it is and I put the blog was called "Proof That Sugar is a Drug." Sometimes.
Something.
Yeah, and basically, like the gist of it could be really summed up, not in so like I was at Christmas time. Christmas time, I was at my family's house, and you'd eat meals, and the meals, you eat till you're satiated, and you don't have to eat after that. You feel full. You're like, okay, that felt good. You don't just keep on eating just to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to the Christmas cookies, that's just not the case.
Yeah, you go.
It's like with Christmas cookies, those little snowballs, man, those fucking things, you just keep on chowing down.
I mean,
It's like, yeah, you just keep on going. It's like you're just not satiated, and it's like, well, what does that have a common characteristic with? And that's drugs. You just you do more coke or meth or whatever it is, and it's like, well, so food and drugs are a lot more similar than people think. I mean, alcohol is like one of those middle of the road. Well, is it food or is it drug? Is beer a food or a drug? Well, alcohol contains calories.
Yeah.
So if alcohol contains calories, does it give you energy? Will it help you survive in the context that you were, didn't have anything else to subsist on? I don't know. I don't know that it would or wouldn't. I mean, I don't know to say that whiskey would help you survive longer.
Wine.
To say that you had water with you.
Right. But going off of what you're saying, didn't they used to carry around wine in olden days? I mean, olden days, I'm talking centuries ago, even thousands of years ago. Like it was kind of known that they would carry wine in the camel skins, like in the Middle East and whatnot.
Yeah.
In biblical times, even I think they'd carry wine in camel skins because a lot of times the water would just get crap in it.
Yeah, that was the same thing
As you're
because
traveling,
when it ferments, the alcohol kills the bacteria. It was
right?
the same thing. They said this about Europe in the Middle Ages. At some point, I was watching a thing, and they started talking about like they lived on coffee and beer. Because the beer would help. The beer once they fermented it, they drank that instead of water. But I don't know how strong the alcohol content was in the beer. Was it like 3%? Was it like Utah 3%, or was it like an IPA from your local brewery?
Who had the technology? Yeah, is
it's
it
like,
Grandpa's homemade wine we're talking about, or
yeah? Are you talking like what are you talking about? Well, and would the fermenting
homemade
process,
moonshine? I don't know.
would the fermenting process accomplish that? Between if it was a lower alcohol content, would it get killed out by the process? And was that wine essentially like a slightly alcoholic grape juice?
Yeah.
And so then it would be more of a food than it would a drug, right? And so you can think of it like the same thing, like if you were living on a deserted island. So context matters. So how do you tell if a food is a food or is it a drug? Now, what does it act more as? And I'd say that the context is mainly the presence of better nutrient foods. So if you're on a deserted island and the hostess plane flies over and drops a load of cupcakes, you're likely going to live longer. But if you're in modern day America with Sprouts and Whole Foods, and you eat Ghostess cupcakes as opposed to other things that you could be eating, and
kill
you're
you
doing that on
sooner.
a consistent basis anyway,
Yeah.
you're eating for the pure enjoyment for what it does to your brain. You're not eating for what it does to your body for sustenance. You're not doing it for the metabolic processes that happen in your body. So in that context, it's a drug.
Of course.
You
I
know,
mean,
and I think that's the main thing is, what's the context? And then
con-
the second thing is, does it by itself, calories, the calories kind of associated with something else of equal calories, does it make you want more or does it satiate you?
hmm,
And, I got to tell you, man, those snowball cookies, they definitely make me want more.
yeah.
They aren't very satiating, but if you eat a salad of the same amount of calories that I was going to have that I had with the snowball cookies, I would have, that would have made me full.
Yeah.
So that was one. That was one blog I wrote this week.
Well, it's interesting too how decisions kind of when you make the difference in decisions in your future behavior, like I think it
Exactly.
takes a conscious effort to choose that, like this, especially in that quantity, the same quantity of salad as you could gain in calories by just sitting watching a show and consuming a whole bag of Hostess cupcakes or whatever your
Yeah,
pleasure is.
exactly. And every other of the cardboard carbs is, as Dad John would put it, cardboard carbs. And Dan John is right.
Oh
He's a
yeah, we
great
talked
guy.
about him last. We talked about him last. I think a little bit on the last podcast,
Did we?
or we've talked
I,
about him recently.
he's a guy with a lot more experience, but yet I found a ton of parallel thinking, and so
Hmm.
because of his experience and the parallel thinking, he helps validate things that you thought, you
Mm.
know. So anyway, but those cardboard carbs, man, it's like, dude, you can do the same thing. You can say the same thing about Kraft macaroni and cheese or chips out of Doritos, man. Can't eat just one. That's, although I think that's Lay's, not Doritos. But it's the same concept, man. It's
Yeah.
like you're giving people something that is going to make them want more, and that's kind of how we live off of addiction in this country. I was watching, or I was listening to a book that's called Empire, and it's from a guy named Niall Ferguson,
Perfect. Yeah.
and he's talking about how the English Empire was basically built on addictions, on importing sugar and tobacco from America,
Coffee.
on tea from China,
I'm trying.
for
Yeah.
the caffeine, and what was the third one? I guess that was it: sugar, tobacco, and caffeine.
Now we're
Then of course
alcohol,
they went
tobacco, and
into the
firearms.
opium. Of course, then after that it was the opium trade in China.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I love watching. Recently, I've been kind of into watching black market shows like that. I forget the name of this documentary. It was some Netflix docu-series, but they took you through like the illegal gun trade, the illegal drug trade. They even have like human trafficking episodes and stuff. I don't watch
Yeah.
that one. I don't that shit gets to me too much. But like just seeing like the network and like the markup and just the process of it and like how well uh, not to like shift gears or change topics too much, but how efficient the illegal trafficking and trading industry, the black market, is because it has to be.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah, absolutely.
and
Well,
and they, I mean, they factor in. Anyway, not to interrupt. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no,
I don't
no,
know.
no. I think I was about to interrupt you actually on accident. But
Oh,
yeah, man, I just agree. That's all I was saying.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little insane, but getting back to the addiction thing
Hmm.
is that what we really, when we approach people with diet and exercise, it's built on the addiction model. The shit. I have a book right here. I just can't remember what it's called. At the moment, there's two models of it. Let's see. Well, one is called the readiness to change model. And basically, readiness to change just means, you're ready, you're ready to get off the drug or whatever like that. It's an addictive medicine. It's in addictive medicine, and so the model they use is like they're like, well, we don't want to you don't want to force anybody because that's when you get relapses. But if you go on the readiness to change model, you get a lot better results. Same thing happens with any habit, which that's why I talk about sugar as being a drug so often, because it is addictive.
Yeah.
My wife made some badass cookies over the weekend, and I keep on telling her not to. I'm like, dude, we want to be, absolutely as healthy as possible. But, what are you going to do when they're sitting right there? At the end of the day, you have no discipline left, and you can have, a glass of wine and a couple big ass good cookies,
Yeah, man. It's important to have those motivators. Like right now, with just with a compromised lungs, whatnot. I've been stepping up my game, running a lot, making sure I'm getting a daily workout in, 20 minutes of some kind of getting my heart rate up, some kind of, and variety too. But
Yeah.
making eating choices. I mean, I'm an ectomorph. I've always been able to get away with eating whatever I want, and throughout my 20s and everything, I never really even noticed
But
the way I
not gaining
felt,
fat is not the same as
how you
keeping the
feel, how it affects your body, cognitive performance.
everything, man. Like how much sugar just fucking
Yeah,
jacks with you,
yeah, absolutely. Well, right now, I the point of me bringing all that up is basically like I have a very specific motivator right now where even though like I can a lot of times get away with eating what I want. Well, I've noticed, whenever I'm on a regiment or if I have those good workouts or I'm training well in martial arts and consistently doing it, um, it's easier to make the decisions. Right now, sitting at home, a lot of people are probably consuming more junk, probably consuming more mental junk too. What
I
binge
totally
watching?
agree, man. I know right before we got on this podcast, we were watching that tiger
I
person.
watched it last week. I was on spring break. I never get to watch
That
shows.
tiger guy,
Carnies on
fellow.
steroids, man.
That's
Carnies
funny
with
because I said
money
the
that
same
own
thing,
big
man. They're at a
cats.
carnival, and I go, dude, they all look like carnies.
Completely. Carnies with money and big cats. And
That's it was pretty funny. But
yeah,
the thing is, you know what? The funny thing is with Netflix is like you could take Netflix and turn it into well, what Netflix did was they made that one long series called Making a Murderer, and I think that did it. And that set the thing is like now everything has to be a 10 episode series of miniseries, and they pad the fuck out of it.
dude,
Like they
yeah,
just
could have been done in 2-3 episodes easily.
yeah, like well, it could have been done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's what used to be on 60 Minutes
Right.
with commercials. Remember? Yeah, it's like, dude, that could have easily been an episode of 60 Minutes, man.
No, well, but it's the reality TV crowd. It's how to suck them into
Yeah.
something that's not reality TV. It's like you almost find yourself it's predictable. It becomes predictable. I mean, some of it is just so out there. It's like he did what? But that's the appeal. That's the drug feed too. That's the serotonin drip.
Oh
What I was
yeah,
saying
man.
is like, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been paying attention to. I mean, Tim Ferriss talks about it all the time. Is your mental diet. You can only what you consume produces the thoughts you have, who you are, your decisions you make. And right now, like I said, a lot of people uh, doing social distancing or being mandatorily quarantined, staying home.
Yeah.
The temptations there stronger than ever to just, oh, I'll just fuck off. I don't, I got nothing else to do. We can easily play the victim, play the, fear can, you can play the fear card. You can use that to motivate you. Like the point I was getting to in my tangent
No,
is
no worries, man.
my motivator right now is just like I said, keeping my lungs as strong as I can because I have that deficiency I know of. Apparently
Yeah.
coronavirus really attacks the lungs, so I
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm strapped and ready to go. I've not been doing
Well, and you're also
I
you're the outlier, you know. You're the one who would have problems, you know. And
oh,
it's like
yeah, I'm
it's
not
like
praising myself at all. It's like it's a fear motivated for sure,
yeah, yeah.
you
That's
know.
what I'm saying. Is you're the one who would have like
Yeah.
got some serious issues, you know. And so if you know that's the thing is when you have an issue,
Mm,
um, you know, like yours, if you consume something
mm,
and you can feel the inflammation there, you know. It's like it's funny because I mean, you know, you have to be fairly fairly aware of your body's if you're somebody without a condition, you have to be fairly aware of your body's state in order to identify certain things like you know, like me, I give up milk. I love milk. I love milk, I love ice cream, but I gave it up at some point because I always thought I just had allergies, which I do, but I thought it was just allergies.
yeah.
After I gave up milk, my nose cleared up. I stopped hawking loogies out the window. You know, I feel
Yeah.
better digestively. I don't, you know, no coughs, anything like that. I mean, and I'm not sitting here. I'm not one of those people who goes and tells everybody to give up milk. I'm just saying, for me,
Yeah.
you know, when people say, "Oh, well," you know, people come back and say, "Oh, that's not true about milk. That's not true."
Right. For
The fuck
some,
it isn't. Like
maybe, but
I'll tell you
yeah,
for you know, and I'm not saying for
for
everybody,
countless.
but for
Yeah.
me that was true. And for anybody with a condition, you would be able to identify something like so immediately
Yeah.
that the rest of us have to like really, really focus on it, you know, in order to do that elimination. But you can't do the elimination if your wife keep on making cookies.
Yeah, I know. Damn, it's the tempting of Adam by Eve. You know, that's just what. No, no, but so listen to this man. He's condemning cookies, condemning milk. Gosh, damn it! What can I consume here? But
Well, and that's
no,
the
no, I
funny thing. The funny thing is, like in the article, I also say I was like, dude, I don't condemn sugar. You know, I don't condemn any drug or
yeah,
anything. You know, I don't condemn anything. As like I don't say I don't condemn drugs. I don't condemn sugar. Just
all right,
nothing. But you just need to have an awareness so
yeah,
that when you approach something, and that's what my entire nutrition plan and exercise is it has little to do with a dogma of we're just going to do this. Like,
yeah.
what was I reading? Oh, I was watching this guy. I was watching this video from this dude on YouTube, and this guy's like, he's teaching this kettlebell exercise. He's just like, well, if you're a kettlebeller, I'm like, if you have a fucking word for it, if you're a kettlebeller, well, what am I? I'm a kettlebeller. I'm a push-upper. I'm a body waiter. You know, what are you? You know, like no, you use what it's like if you train your body, you're not like, oh, I'm a jogger. You know, well,
Yeah,
okay, I guess you're a jogger if you jog, but yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a jogger just because do I include running in my regimen.
you want to be,
You know, my
you want to
physical
be,
regimen. I wouldn't consider myself a kettlebeller. I wouldn't consider myself a Pilates advocate or a yoga or a yogi or any of those things
unless you
that
put a
some
hashtag,
some don't have.
in front of it, and then you can be whatever you want to be.
That's
Hashtag
true.
kettlebeller.
That's true. That's true. You put a hashtag in front of it, you're all over.
Well,
But it's like all these dogma type
yeah,
things. It's like no, take a reasonable analysis of the situation and then approach it from that standpoint. Same thing with the sugar.
hmm,
Take a reasonable analysis of how much sugar you're consuming, how that works with your body, and whether you will find benefit in alleviate it from your diet. Because in
yeah,
in the presence of all other food sources, that's one thing. Nobody needs sugar and nobody needs alcohol.
right,
Not and again, not to say that I don't consume
yeah,
both of those. Just that
sure, in
it has to
moderation.
be put in the context of your own body.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always, when you work with people one on one, you have to be realistic with them too. I mean, some people, s- you know, s- some people don't want to give up their alcohol, their beer a day, or or wine a day or whatever, but they still want to be fit. They still want to be healthy, and so you can compromise, just make better decisions or make good self-aware
Well, it's also there's
decisions.
that beer. If that beer that you have, or your bottle or a bottle of wine, it's kind of
Yeah,
rough, or that glass of wine you have
bottle.
is in the context of a well balanced ratio, or the cookie.
Yeah.
Whatever you have. You have a cookie.
Right.
And I hate it when people say,
I had a
"Oh,
bowl of ice cream
it
after
just
I
has
went
to
for
be
a
in
run last night.
moderation." I'm like, well, what the fuck does moderation mean?
Yeah.
It's in moderation. No, you have to take you have to take an analysis of what is healthy. Get a good look at yourself, get the diagnosis of what your condition is, and then apply. Apply that to whatever your strategy is. And if you don't want to give up the wine, don't give up the wine, but you're gonna have to balance it out in some other way, is what you're saying.
Well, it's absolutely. I mean, life. You kind of have to. Well, again, you have to be a realist, and you have to compromise. You can't. The old saying, "You can't have your cake and eat it too." Uh, I mean, it's. I don't know. Yeah, just because you start paying a trainer, you start doing. I don't know. Yeah, just because you pay a trainer and say you want to
Yeah,
lose weight doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. You spend 1 hour in the traditional method, not the Rue Health method, because
yeah.
we're all
They
about.
spend 1 hour 3 times a week, or 2 times a
Yeah,
week.
but
Actually, you get me
that's
there.
not even 1% of your week,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
and
It,
go
it,
ahead.
it frustrated the hell out of me when I was doing that sort of when we did get brought over into I really just don't think the personal training model works, and that's why I didn't. That's why I've done it for so little of a part of the span of my career was like, dude, it just doesn't work, and you feel guilty for taking the money.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
and it's like I always felt at those big gyms, like we were talking about, that you weren't. If as much of I'm a free enterprise guy as I am,
Mhm,
I believe in making money, not getting money.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
Henry Ford talked about this. He said, well, there's some people who make money. They develop a product or service or whatever, and it and it provides for a certain need for people, and people will pay for that, and the market will dictate what ends up being made. But there's also other people out there who want to get money. They won't want to make money. And that's where you manipulate the system, or become a part of something that slows the system down instead of speeds it up.
it's
Or
parasitic.
it becomes a parasitic relationship rather than a symbiotic relationship. And
Right.
so, like, the free market, by all means, should be a a very symbiotic relationship.
Mhm.
Between it's a whole bunch of small symbiotic relationships that should pretty much create this nice, even balanced society. But then you bring in the parasitic, uh, manipulating, getting money scenario.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like working at those types of places, at those big gyms, was that it was unreasonable to think that you could accomplish what they're making you try to accomplish, at those
Mm.
places.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
I know firsthand. I remember.
I know you.
Yeah.
And it's like you go in and you're with somebody, sell them on twice a week, knowing that it's like, dude, the amount of money that you're offer that someone would have to pay. I mean, if you're paying $100 an hour twice a week, that's $800 a month
Yeah.
that you're paying to meet with me. I better be able to provide some results.
But it's the only way I can make a living is and I can only sell it to people who can truly afford it because it's not
Yeah,
the way it's priced and modeled. It's not something that everybody can participate in. It's
yeah.
not a level
Nor is
playing
it
field.
something that most people should participate in long term.
Long
Because
term,
it's like,
right?
dude, you can't have somebody stressing out, going broke, and
Yeah,
having health issues for stress when so that they can pay a trainer who's supposed to get them healthy. And
yeah.
the thing is that those places, you concentrate
The
so much
guilt
more.
sell. It's an
What?
investment in yourself, and that's true. It is an investment in
It
yourself
is.
as
It
long as you
is if
use
you
it
do it
as
the
that.
right way.
Yeah,
But you don't see those
you
people. You
need a
don't see the
foundation.
trainer go over and work on like literally that twice a week should be done at a desk.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
you
it should be done at a desk. And then like, okay, let's go over the how to.
plan and then you go execute.
Yeah. Then you go to the how to, and then
Yeah.
you go, this is how you do this. Now go and do it on your own.
Hmm.
Like really, the actual workouts that they're selling you in some of these big places are like it's the workout is not what somebody should be looking for. It's the coaching. It's the
Right.
independence. Yeah. Anyway, we probably talked like this last time, but
No, but
it is a
it's important to be stressed. The workout, I mean, now the workout does give you a certain feeling. You know, you feel a great way, or I mean, it
yeah.
affects the rest of your day. So if that's the pick me up you need. There's all everyone has their different reasons for needing to be coached or seeking instruction, but ultimately, then through that, your learning goals should be different. You should be geared towards, and not that as a trainer you should tell your clients what their goals are, because again, people have prioritized and things are important to people for different reasons.
No, but you
But
can influence perception that somebody has
mm,
of what goals are reasonable
yeah,
with what resources they have.
yeah, well, resources is a big part of it, support,
Yeah,
everything.
time, support,
But you want,
money.
yeah, I mean, the goal. Well, what I was saying, the goal should be that, well, eventually, this money I'm paying my trainer, I want to learn how to do this on my own. That I mean,
Yeah,
maybe my immediate goal is, yeah, I need to look good for this wedding, or I need to be able to get this weight off or change my body structure. I'm in pain. But then long term, I hope to live another 50 years or whatever. I want to know how to manage this so I don't have these problems again. So I don't have to keep coming
exactly.
back and paying paying the mechanic a chunk to fix a problem that could have been easily fixed by simple maintenance.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I mean, I think you almost hit on funny. Wouldn't that be an interesting model for actual mechanics? If you
yeah,
went to the mechanic and you said, "Well, do you want me to fix your car, or do you want me to show you how to fix your car?" You know, I mean, you probably couldn't do that nowadays with the cars. You're not going to do that with the.
right.
Yeah, first of all, they don't need oil changes, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, second, Tesla's a little bit too complicated. But imagine that's the way it was, back when the Mustang came out. That that might have been an actual model you might have used. Like, hey, hey, can you change my oil? Okay. Do you want me to change it? Or do you want to spend a little bit extra and learn how to change it on your own?
Yeah. Could have been that revolutionary, that one company who just does it different, that purple cow thinking. Have you ever read any Seth Godin?
No, I haven't read Seth Godin. I've
Yeah.
heard the name though.
Yeah, he's a kind of a marketing guru. When I lived the startup chapter of my life, yeah, he had a book called Purple Cow, and it was basically a book of case studies about just innovative marketing, which we always slam marketing as the devil, but not just marketing, but like by
I
the
don't think
company
it is,
it's
man. I think marketing done right is, but when it becomes propaganda as opposed to just advertisement
yeah.
or mark like just putting your stuff out there,
Hmm.
if it's more than informational, basically it becomes propagandized. Even though to tell you the truth, I think the actual word propaganda and advertising are the same thing. I think but the meaning of what we think of as propaganda, meaning like kind of a manipulation.
That's a good
Once
point.
it becomes manipulative, then we have problems. And I think that's what we get with diet. Is it the industry is manipulative, and what's in the food itself, is manipulative as much as
Manipulated,
nicotine.
yeah.
Nicotine isn't addictive. Sugar is not addictive.
Hmm.
There's the people would say, "Oh, you're crazy, a Twinkie and a cigarette." They're not that much different.
They're, yeah, one choice at a time. That's,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, the well, one thing I was going to finish real quick. The case study I was talking about. It was about the company. Do you remember? Dutch Boy Paint? Have you ever heard of Dutch Boy Paint?
No. Oh wait,
Like
yeah, of
it's
course.
a type of paint. Yeah, but
Yeah, I know. It's a brand, right?
yeah, a brand of paint. And so
Yeah.
that they separated themselves from the market. They don't have to do as much advertising because they innovated just product packaging. Their paint's not really any different than anyone else's, not revolutionary, but
Yeah.
they had some massive success and saw a huge spike in sales, and now they're kind of trademarked for it, just simply because they changed their paint can from having the metal handle on top. They gave it like a little its own handle. It's like the plastic paint container with a handle. Um,
Wow, really?
like a side.
Like
It's
a
just like
mug?
a different, yeah, like a mug, a
Oh,
different look
okay.
and
Yeah.
feel.
Oh, that's
No
sick.
different, but
But that's
and it's
not
like,
market. That's like half marketing and half design, though. The
yeah,
design, if the design is usable and functional, usability was in our masters. We had to go over hospital. We had to go over like medical devices, and we were doing a thing on medical device design, and we were studying. We did a usability study, and
mm,
we said, well, how do you get to the point where a product essentially, where's it overcomplicated? And like if you went to a website, how many clicks does it take to get to where you need to be on that site? Does it take
yeah.
one, two, three? How much do you have to look through?
That was
Stuff like that. And if for the paint can, it's like, dude, I hate that handle on the top. Like you have to fill it. It's gonna pour all over
well. And
everything.
then you got to open the paint can with a flathead screwdriver. This had a screw off top, and they
Yeah,
patented it.
dude,
Patented it.
that's brilliant. You
Yeah,
know, if, like, again, it's like, okay, well, if you want to start eating right, you know, buy canned food that has a pull off top because they're starting to put pull off tops on the
yeah,
canned food because the can opener is just washing it, bringing it out, doing the thing. That's
yeah.
just one more small little thing, but it might be the thing that it might be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
I've ate a,
Between you
I've ate,
eating
eaten
that and something shitty.
I've eaten a ton of canned food recently. Some good, some shitty. Just because I keep about a month's supply of canned food anyway, just in case of emergency, no matter what. Because that's
Yeah.
just. But anyway, been eating more canned food lately. Rice, pasta, food that doesn't go bad, lasts long. Calorie dense food and whatnot.
Sure.
So not the ideal diet lately, but kind of a survivalist diet. Even though we're not starving, but I'm exercising that ability to moderate, have the discipline again, along with the exercise I'm doing. Uh, we obviously cooking all our meals because we can't go anywhere. But anyway,
Yeah.
but even just the decisions there, I'm getting creative with dishes and it's fun. Like I cook things in bulk and I'll make simple things out of beans, rice, and chicken and add some spices and stuff. And you got yourself like something good that lasts and keeps you content. It's sustenance, but it's a good discipline and trimming kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, trimming the fat out of an idea, a concept, a lifestyle, just cutting out unnecessary bullshit.
Well,
And diet, there's no better place to do that than with diet, but sometimes
and
that's the hardest place. So if you make those changes.
health and functional performance training, or if you want to call it fitness, is just like it's just because of it's the industry that we're talking about that makes me even sometimes cringe at the word fitness. Not because of what fitness means, but because of what it connotates. And that's an aside, I suppose. But
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about usability, really that's what your programs have to be. They have to be usable above all. So if you have the most oh, you know what? Power cleans work for everybody. Power cleans are amazing. Yeah, power cleans are amazing. If you spent 4 years in high school learning how to do them,
They're
like
not
I
amazing to learn when you're 50. Like you said
yeah,
last podcast, 55-year-olds don't need to be doing power cleans and stuff.
yeah,
But squats, deadlifts if you can, or just getting the kind of mobility. I mean, I understand if people have wear and tear, bad knees and whatnot, there's certain exercises they shouldn't be
sure.
doing, which is why they should be assessed and learned foundationally throughout different points in life. Just because you learned how to work out when you're 20 or 30 doesn't mean you should be doing those things when you're 50, and don't think you can go
Yeah.
back in and repeat the things you used
Yeah,
to.
and who knows about the downtime? You know, that's my problem with the
From us,
CrossFits of the world.
even. I mean, I have that problem sometimes. I tweak things all the time just because, well, I used to do this, or
Yeah.
feeling cocky or whatever.
Yeah, and now imagine you had sat in between then learning that and going to now, being you, just imagine you had the last 5 years where you didn't develop any of it. You sat
Yeah.
in a chair, you worked as a, sales consultant for, whatever,
Yeah.
and so, and you're sitting there at a desk and you're not getting that
Atrophy.
activation. And you learn to do that stuff back in college when you're
Right.
walking all the way across, like, dude, and when at ASU, man, I walked from, I never got my parking on time. So I was always out by the stadium. I was always lot 59 out by the stadium. Uh,
Yeah, you either do
and
that
you
or
have
get
to
a
walk
skateboard,
all the way. And the exercise science was all the way. So that was on the north end of campus. Exercise science was all the way on the south end of campus. It was the last thing before you got off of campus. And so it was probably 2 miles.
Yeah.
It was 2 miles. I had to go fast walk every which way in 110 degrees.
Yeah.
And so I think about, like, if you were fit back in college and you go, they're like, you go into CrossFit when you're 35,
Yeah.
and you spent the last, 5-10 years not doing that, not doing outdoor sports.
Yeah.
It's like, and all these guys are doing, it's like, okay, CrossFit looks great to somebody who's kept themselves in very top shape for
Yeah.
up until the current day. It's a good sport, but for a fitness thing, for not to let's just go CrossFit. It's the
Yeah.
one we hear most about, but most of the circuit things that are out there have some level of that.
So I think. Oh, I don't want to cut you off if you're
No, I think it was
elaborating.
pretty much finished. I was just saying,
I think that.
if you have a time off, you need to start back up with a foundational plan, not you know, not that.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're talking about also, we were last podcast we were talking about assessment, and I spent a lot of time talking about it in the educational system, but maybe it might be a good time to talk about, like, what quantifies a good uh, physical assessment, functional movement assessment,
Well,
for people.
I think it all depends on the person and their goals. I mean,
Mhm.
what qualifies for a good assessment depends totally on the goals. I mean, do you want to run the NFL Combine, or are you just doing health? If it's health, then you want to have. If you're doing health and you want to look at the medical
to
markers
to
that are.
combat atrophy, someone who's coming in fresh, uh, taking 5 years off, been sitting in a chair, they need to come in.
Well,
What kind of
yeah.
assessment? I mean, you and I, that's like, we can look at someone and assess them easily in a workout, but, like, maybe to a beginner, like, what would they need to?
Well, they would have to have some. I mean, you'd want to have definitely, like I said, you want to. So I always tell people there's only 3 different things you could want. Do you want health? Do you want usability? Or do you want performance? And all 3 of those. So health means you just want to have a more quality of lifespan. Yeah, really not even quantity, but quality of lifespan. You want to be with it, until the last of your days. So that's health. Usability means the ability to help your body move
Mhm.
without fear of injury.
Yeah.
To run for the train, to get out of the way of a car, all the things you may have to do in life, to garden, as you mentioned the other day. How can you do that and be more injury resilient, both for overuse injuries and acute injury that you might get from, picking up a heavy object, or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and then the last one is performance, but that's to be injury resilient and perform better for um, for a hobby,
Yeah, or a specific goal.
a
Could be
physical
hobby, could be
hobby.
career, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, a physical hobby. I would actually say that if it's for a career, then I would put it in the usability section.
Ah,
Because I would say, well, dude, if
yeah.
you're a Navy SEAL, then
Uh-huh.
your body is going to have to be a very very you know fine tuned machine,
Yeah.
to be injury resilient against what you might be go what you might encounter in
And
service
certainly
command.
against what's advisable for the mass population,
Yeah,
even people of maybe the same physical uh, stature or same physical capabilities, but a professional athlete's going to look to preserve that, not necessarily, or preserve it more. They got contracts, money on the line,
yeah.
uh, versus a Navy SEAL, someone in that position needs to do certain mental toughness trainings. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's always different approaches, and the individuals are different. But and again, that's what.
I'm sure that's I think that's a factor.
Yeah,
But I mean, just asking somebody what their goals are is going to determine what the assessment is.
yeah,
If you're set, if your goals are health and to live longer, then what you need is some basic medical biometrics. You need to know your blood pressure, you need to know your bone density, you need to know your resting heart rate. You probably should know you probably should know your cholesterol. You probably should know your body fat, and that's probably around. You probably should also know your BMI.
yeah.
Body fat. I always say body fat plus BMI, not body fat over BMI.
Gives
I
you
think
more
that's. I
information.
think. I think that neither one can be taken in without the other.
And either one is fallible too. I mean, or
Yeah.
again, body
Yeah. Of
types
course.
vary. You
Yeah. Of course.
posted the blog, the
But if you're talking
ectomorph,
body
endomorph,
composition,
mesomorph. Yeah,
if you're talking body composition, then you want to have just those two things
yeah,
taken into account together. So if you're talking, your basic, medical biometrics or maybe sub-medical biometrics, some of those
or,
are good for that. And then, for physical performance, how does your body perform for those other, goals? So like, well, you need to be able to, to be able to balance. You need to be able to, do certain body weight exercises, and you need to have a certain amount of mobility. And so that's it. Those, you need to be able to move a certain way. You need to be able to have a certain amount of structural strength, or a lot
yeah.
of people say core, but I'm like, your postural muscles are up in your shoulders, not your belly.
Mm.
So I call them, structural strength.
I like that term too,
You
structural
know,
strength. Yeah, I mean
Central
that's
strength, structural strength. I mean, I use all sorts of
big.
words for it, but really it means kind of isometric strength, the ability to keep things from moving, not just to move them.
Well, people emphasize core, but like if you're talking, I mean, it's more nervous system when you're talking about like balance training. Let's just take that for an example. Like
Yeah.
balance training isn't just they say, oh, strengthen your core, you'll have better balance. Well, that's a factor. Really, it's nervous. It comes down to the nervous system. I believe in for
Yeah.
balance, especially things like foot strength, shin and ankle strength. Uh, but again, those are
You,
harder
you've
to
seen the,
develop
uh, you've seen the
without the nervous
sensory
system.
diagram. Like, it looks horrible, but if you look up sensory animation or something like that, they
Okay.
show you, like, if you were to look like where your nerve endings are, like your hands, feet, lips would be huge. It's like,
Yeah,
but that goes to show, kind of what you're talking about is that that your stabilization system, meaning balance and core strength and postural strength, and all that's part of the same thing. Because your hands, when you hold something, you don't, you're not squeezing it like that, over and over again. You're holding it, so it's isometric strength. You need to sense like where everything's at. It's that really
yeah.
detailed sensory component that is telling your body where to be and how to act.
Yeah, I work with a lot of elderly, is probably a large percentage of my clientele, and balance is a big thing for them. And obviously, there's a lot of different methods, a lot of things I assess, and taking into account people's injury or surgical history, well, whatever their injury history helps explain their movement history and their movement patterns, habits, tendencies, imbalances. But one thing I work on with almost everyone is developing. I have them do simple things. This is just giving an example of the kind of exercise. Lying on their back, one leg extend, perfect alignment, flat on the ground. The other leg at a 90-degree angle, holding kind of behind the knee. And again,
This one, this is gonna have to stop, Jay.
What?
My wife thinks her water broke.
Oh, hey.
So, yeah. Anyways, good podcast.
And spit out. Well, hey, good luck. Keep me posted. Tell her.
All right, I will, man.
Tell her she's awesome. And yeah, go get him, bro.
All right, brother. Later.
Bye.